I'd like to go ahead and get started. It's 1 o'clock, and I'd like to pass it over to Betty Graham to introduce our speaker, Betty Darnell.
Okay, thank you. I want to welcome everybody to the Second Tuesday program. Our longtime member, Betty Darnell, was a youngster when she joined in '88 with LGS, and she's back by popular demand. She's given several programs to us in the past, but multiple members wanted to hear this program, so that's why we were able to get it set up. And she has received numerous awards and recognition for her extensive research and abstracts. She's been honored for multiple publications. And we want to inform you that you can see some of her publications at the local libraries, but also at the Fort Wayne, Indiana, and out at Salt Lake at the library, the Family History Center. So if you're ever in a large library, look her books up. They're really interesting if you've not seen them before. I want to include that she has done about 40 booklets. This was in the bio that was on the website, but this is interesting in that she's done this for years and years. So we are really reaping the benefits of all of her hard work. And she's been the editor of the Wilderness Road Quarterly of Bullitt County Genealogical Society for more than 25 years. And she's done abstracts for the Louisville Genealogical Society, Spencer County Historical Genealogical Society, and Nelson County Genealogical Roundtable. Welcome, Betty.
Thank you. So you want to publish. Publish means to make publicly known, to announce, to proclaim, to divulge, or to issue a printed work to the public. It does not necessarily mean a formal hardcover 300-page book. There are several options to publishing. You can do that hardcover book of 100 pages or more. You can do an ebook. You can do a booklet of 10 to 150 pages. You can do a brief essay on an ancestor and send that out by emails to your family. You can record your telling of a story on audio record or video. You can write your own story, a topic at a time, taking things like birth, your childhood, your school, dating and marriage, married life, career, children, church affairs, hobbies, family gatherings, and antiques handed down. You can do a blog. You can do a photo book with stories of your ancestors. You can write an article for a society publication. It doesn't have to be a great big challenge that'll take you 3 or 4 years. The Fort Wayne Library has a great deal. You can send in your work, whether it's complete or whether it's just your notes. You can send that in hard copy or digitally to the Allen County Library at Fort Wayne. They will print it out, bind it, and place it on their shelves for researchers' use. They'll also, if you request, they'll send you a bound copy of your work that you send in. Also, if you can upload your ancestor story to their website or send it on CD, they'll place it on the website for researchers to use from home. If you are sending digitally, either by email or upload, it's suggested that you convert each file to PDF. Then there's a free program they can use. It's very easy to use. Hexonic PDF split and merge. The information is in your handout. And you can convert all your PDFs into one PDF. And that's the way most printers prefer to get it. So if you decide to do a book, the first step is to decide on the focus of your book. You can either do descendants of one ancestor or the stories of all your ancestors. I understand that the descendants of one ancestor books will sell better than the stories of all your ancestors. And I suspect that libraries prefer the first option also because that's easier to figure out where to file it. So you're going to do it from your genealogy program or from scratch. Most genealogy programs will convert your basic data into a book, or you can do it yourself with a Word program. There, now I can see everything. So set up a basic outline. It's your choice. You can start with the oldest generation, then go on to the next generation, so that chapter 1 would be the oldest generation. Chapter 2 would be the children of the oldest generation. Chapter 3 would be their grandchildren, and so on through each chapter. Or the other way, you can have a separate chapter for each of the children. You can start with chapter 1 would be the oldest generation again. Chapter 2 would be the first child of the oldest generation and all their descendants. Chapter 3 go on to the next child and their descendants. I've done books both ways. Some people say they prefer this second one, that it's easier to understand. So it's totally up to you what you want to do. My mother had a saying that I've used frequently: if you don't like the way I did it, you can do it the next time. So that's what you can tell if someone complains. The next step is to sort and collect. Sort your notes and copies into folders, either on the computer or on paper, whatever you're comfortable with. Label it with your chapter headings. Let your cousins know what you're doing and ask for their help. They may have stories that you didn't hear growing up. They may have photos and old letters that you don't have access to. And also ask them to help spread the word. That's the biggest challenge of publishing a family book, is getting the word out and finding all your cousins and letting them know about it. So prepare a timeline for each couple, the year of birth, marriage, and death, and then plug in things like when did they move? When and where were their children born? Are there gaps in the timeline? You need to do some more research. Add dates of US, state, and local events that may have affected your ancestors. Add some color, the historical background information, photographs and images of documents. I like to include images of signatures, that if I can find them, because that seems to make them real people. Prepare maps showing your ancestors' migration routes. Include photos of ancestral homes and gravestones. Include transcripts or notes from oral interviews. Compile a style sheet. As you make a decision, write it down so that you're consistent with everything. Include things like the type size and font for your text and for quotes and for photo captions. Include the type size and font for the chapter and section headings. You want to do those in boldface or in italics, write it down so that you do it the same way all through your book. Decide on the format of dates. Today's date is 6/8/21. If you write it that way, it's very confusing. You want to use at least the 3-letter abbreviation for the months. The biggest purpose of that, because in some countries, they read 6/8/21. That would be the 6th of August, not the June 8th. So you want to be sure and use that 3-letter abbreviation for the month. And of course, we work through multiple centuries. So is that 1821 or is that 2021? So you want to use all 4 numbers for the year. How are you going to indicate the maiden name or the nickname? Most people indicate the maiden name by putting it in parentheses, nickname in quotation marks. And there again, you just want to be consistent all through your book. So the nuts and bolts. Record the location of original photos and documents. Scan the photos and images in color at 300 dpi or better. Even if you're printing in black and white, it turns out better if you scan them in color. Be aware of copyright issues. Obtain permission for use of photos and interview information. Record the sources of your information in footnotes at the bottom of the page or endnotes at the end of the chapter or at the end of the book. I prefer footnotes because I know people are going to be making copies of pages of my book, and I want those footnotes right there where they can see them. Cite your sources. Include the book title or the website in italics. For instance, the Find a Grave or Ancestry or anything like that would be in italics. The article or the database title would be in quotes. Anything published online is the same as published in a book. You need to ask for permission and cite your source. There are all sorts of publications out there teaching you how to do that. I'm not getting heavily into that. One of my favorites is the Quick Sheet Citing Online Historical Resources by Elizabeth Schoen Mills. I did not put that in my handout, but I'll put that up again at the question period so that you can copy it down if you want to then. Indexing is not an option. Most genealogy programs will compile an index for you. You can get a separate indexing program, but you can also do it with Word. You can enter names as surname, comma, forename. You can enter location in italics as state, comma, county. You can enter subjects in bold as in Civil War. Then you can set your page in 3 columns and set the right tab, the backwards L, at the right edge of the first column. then enter the name or the location, one per line, then tab to the right and add the page number. This is some entries from my Magruder book. Alexander Magruder was on page 1. Scotland in italics was in page 1. Several other entries there with the page numbers. Then you can highlight all the entries when you've done, or you can do it in the middle if you want to, and do it multiple times, and click that sort logo up at the top of the screen. And voila, it's magic. They're in alphabetical order with the page numbers attached. If you feel so inclined, this is a little time-consuming project, but you can clean it up a little bit. And you notice how Kentucky, instead of saying Kentucky, Bullitt County, Kentucky, Taylorsville, I eliminated the Kentucky and then just tabbed over so that Taylorsville is under Kentucky. And the same with the Magruder entries. And like I say, that really neatens it up, but it is a little time-consuming. My Bible is Producing a Quality Family History by Pat Law Hatcher. Some of the topics included are book design, page layout and formatting, preparing camera-ready art, options from technology, and self-publishing. This is an older book, but it still has a lot that still applies, even though we're using different techniques with the newer computers. And this is the book. You can see it's pretty well worn. I've used it a lot. I don't remember if it goes into copyright. I don't think it does. I don't see anything there. The front of the book stuff you want to compile first, the title page, the copyright page is on the reverse, the table of contents, and a list of illustrations. The preface and acknowledgments is optional. You can do that if you want it or not. The introduction is usually written by someone else. And again, that's optional. You can do it or not. Publishing options, you can send a printout or a digital format to your relatives. You can get copies from a copy shop, or you can go with a commercial book printer. Preparing for the printer, convert each file to a PDF. I like to leave each chapter as a separate file so that there's less risk of losing something, which I do frequently. And then at the end, combine all the PDFs into one PDF file using the hexonic PDF split and merge. And again, that's on your handout. And that's usually the method that's preferred by the printers. They want it all in one file. So then you have decisions. What size is your book going to be? It can be 8.5 by 11. That means fewer pages and maybe a better print cost. Or you can go 6 by 9. It's easier to hold, but of course you'll have to reset all your margins. So it's a trade-off, and it's up to you. More decisions. What kind of binding? You can staple it together. That's not really durable for frequent use. You can use the cookbook binding, which doesn't hold up on a bookshelf, and those I hate. You can use perfect binding, which is a soft cover, or you can do case binding, which is the hard cover. So copyright, actually, as soon as you write something down, or anybody writes something down and sends it out, or even don't send it out, it's copyrighted as soon as it's written down or dictated or whatever. Registration is not necessary. It's insurance against copying your book. If you feel like someone's going to copy your whole book and publish it for themselves and you want to sue them, then you might want to register then. Otherwise, it's not really necessary. ISBN, same thing. That's required by major booksellers, but family books are probably not going to be sold at a major bookseller. So again, that's not really necessary. Setting the price. The usual recommendation is 2 to 2.5 times the printing cost. Usually what I do is the 2 times the cost is my pre-publication offer. And then once it's published, it's 2.5 times. Be sure to add the cost of postage and packaging materials. So then to market, you want to prepare your flyers with details about the book and the price. Include your photo and bio so that they know that you're a real person, not one of these fake books that I've used to call. And maybe tell them about your research, how you got started and what kind of research you did. Allow a month for the pre-publication price with the discount, and then send flyers to cousins, societies, and libraries. And encourage your cousins to share those, send copies to their cousins or whoever they think might be interested. You might host a reunion. That's a really good way to do that. Let people know what you're doing. Larger libraries may order your book, so you can send them an offer. Smaller libraries probably expect you to donate a copy. So my experiences, I have published several books. I published a rolling book when I was young and stupid. Then I started publishing record abstracts. Later, I published The Right Way, the Thompson booklets, and later a book. And then I published several bigger books since then. So the rolling book was in 1981. I just looked in the genealogical publication. It was Everton's Genealogical Helper for printer ads. And I sent queries to several people. And they were pretty much all the same. I had to order 300 copies. I knew there was no way in the world I would sell that many copies because it's a very small family. So that's the wrong way to do the book. It may be that the newer ways weren't available at the time. I don't know. But this is that book. It was a 6x9 book. They did not print the title on the cover, which I didn't care for. It was on the spine, but not on the cover. So then I learned that some of my friends just could not deal with microfilm. They said it made them dizzy. I didn't have any problem. So I said, okay, I've seen an opportunity here. So I started out with census and then worked my way up to deeds and wills and marriages and that sort of thing. Still doing some of that. With those, I can get any number of copies I want because I can go to the copy shop and get those. And I can add cardstock covers and staple them together. That'll work for family books also. You don't have to be fancy. This is some shameless advertising in some of my Jefferson County books. And you can see I just stapled them together with the cardstock covers. Then there was my Thompson family was having a reunion in 1985. So I prepared just a smaller book with just the basic information about our ancestors and 3 or 4 generations. And I mentioned that I was preparing a larger book. So then that helped with everybody that knew what I was doing. So I started work on the larger book and I realized some of these people in Louisiana and Texas are third cousins. We should know them and we don't. So I put a blind ad in the Louisiana and Texas quarterlies and saying, I'm looking for descendants of Cyrus Burton and James Thompson, who were sons of John Thompson and Jane Strong. Got a response from a cousin in Texas. He said, I always wondered why Cyrus Burton Thompson named his son John Strong Thompson. Now I know. So he put me in touch with another cousin of his or of ours that was planning a reunion in 1999. So I contacted her and said, the little book is out of print and I'm not really planning to reprint because I'm working on the larger book. And she said, I wish you'd rethink that because I think that would sell really well. I said, yeah, I guess you're probably right. So I looked at the little book and I thought, ooh, there's so much here I've either disproven or finding a whole lot more information on. So I wrote another little book. And like I say, that's really the right way to do it because by then that time, there were lots of people that knew what I was doing and they were sending me information and they were ready to buy the book. So finally in 2007, I got the big book ready. I went with Sam McDowell over in Owensboro and that was an interesting experience. By the time I got my order based on 100 copies. And by the time the pre-publication period was up, I already had more than I thought I would. And so I just took my money to Sam and I said, how many books can I get with this much money? And he said 135. So that's what I ordered. I have 1 book left, so it's sold pretty well. So this is the little book. I put some tape on it just to kind of dress it up a little bit. And then the big book. My mistake was titling them both the same thing because that's a little confusing for libraries. They think they already have a copy of the big book. They don't really. So keep that in mind. So then I was hired to help a lawyer who was researching a book on Henry Christ, who was a prominent pioneer in Bullock County. He hired me to find the descendants. Then later he found out I had pretty good research skills. So he said, I want every scrap of information that I could find. So the client died in 2011 and his widow said, come get this stuff. So it became my book. So I went looking for a printer. The local printer, Sam McDowell, was out of business. He had died. And so the local printers, they had either had a minimum of 300 or more copies, or they didn't do hardcover. And that was the same with Amazon. I don't believe they do hardcover. So I just went back to the genealogical quarterlies and sent queries to printers' websites and also sent to some local websites. And one company answered quickly, Smith Printing answered quickly, and they sent me samples of what their work they had done. I was impressed with their work, so I decided to go with them. And again, their information is in the handout. So I uploaded the finished book on PDF to their website. They sent me a proof copy, which I approved, and sent a check for 3/4 of the print cost. The remainder was due before delivery of the books in about 6 weeks. But I've really enjoyed working with them, so I've used them for the Chris book in 2015, another Rolling book in 2017, and the Magruder book in 2020. This is the Magruder book that I just did. So just do it. Write the name of your favorite ancestor, either on a piece of paper or on a Word program, and put your name at the bottom, and all you have to do is fill in the blanks. So are there any questions? And there's my quick sheet reference.
I did see someone that wanted the, I think it was Julie Deal, wanted to know if your posts on the screen could be given to the audience. Is that mostly in your handout, or is it not? All your different screens here, the PowerPoint.
Not the screens, no.
Okay.
There's a basic outline on the handout, and also some of the references.
So Barbara Barker would like to know what type of font should she use?
It depends on what you want to do. I usually like the Times New Roman just because that looks like the old-fashioned type that they use in newspapers and such. A lot of people like the Arial, like I have here on the screen here, because it's cleaner looking. It's totally up to you. Like I say, like my mother always said, if you don't, you tell your cousins if you don't like the way I did it, you can do it the next time.
If you're not able to download this from the chat, I believe that there was the info@kylgs.org that you could send a message to that, and we can send it out to you.
There were several questions earlier about copyright. I just did not get into that very much. There are lots of references you can find to that online to do some study on that. And like I say, the quick sheet helps you learn how to cite your resources. Just like I said, anything that's online is just like a book. It's copyrighted as soon as somebody puts it on there. So you need to cite your sources and ask permission if you need to.
And if you get a booklet or an article ready, we need to have it in our Louisville Genealogical Society quarterly. And someone can help with the sources for you, help you. We have a lot of people are wanting to get the information in our quarterly so we can hear it again.
So are there any other questions? Oh, there's another one. All my books are self-published. Yes, I have not used a publisher. I figured it was cheaper and I could keep my books cheaper.
Both D1 and D2 put the contact on there. If someone did not see it in chat, it's the Guide to Copyright and Contracts, a primer for genealogists, writers, and researchers by Sharon D. Bartolo. I forgot Carmack. I forgot how to pronounce her name. She was one of our seminar speakers one year, and really got a lot out of her seminar.
Bartolo, I think.
Someone wants the YouTube channel, the name again for the YouTube channel. YouTube channel. I can't talk.
Yeah, it's just the LGS YouTube channel. If you go into YouTube and type in Louisville Genealogical Society, it will pop up for you.
Well, thank you all for coming, and I hope you will register for our next meetings, and enjoyed having everybody today.
John, Rattel, do you have any final comments?
I do not. I want to thank Betty for the presentation. It was tremendous, and it's going to take some serious study to go back and go through all this stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.